Welcome, dear brave listener. You're tuning into Careful TV, and I'm truly grateful you're here. Whether you're tuning in during the day or late at night, thank you for choosing to spend a part of your time with me. If you enjoy these stories, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and means more than you know. The stifling humidity of Pensacola, Florida, made everything feel heavy. Clothes, mood, even the silence, as the 27-year-old shift lead at a local KFC, not far from the now-closed Walmart. I'd been there for 9 months, mostly covering swing or late closing shifts.
It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable. Rent was paid, and I got my employee meal, which was enough for Lena, who was trying to escape a series of bad decisions, including dropping out of community college and breaking up with a perpetually unemployed boyfriend. I needed work fast, and KFC fit the bill.
That's how I ended up at the KFC on Brent Lane, just off the interstate where traffic from the base and the beach sort of overlaps. We got all kinds: families, truckers, tired parents, and the occasional drunk guy at 9:58 p.m. begging for tenders after close. That night I was scheduled to close with 2 others. Death, a new high school hire on counter, and this guy named Marcus, who was just a couple months into the job. Marcus was quiet, but helpful, probably early 30s, lived with his mom. I think he did grill and fryer duty most nights, and didn't cause problems. Bit odd, maybe talked a little too slow, but he never got snippy with customers. And in our line of work, that counts for something. Beth clocked out just after 9:30 p.m. We were slow that night, so I told her she could go early. She had a math test the next morning and had been yawning since 7. That left just me and Marcus to close up, which wasn't unusual. 2-person closings happened all the time. I told him, "Yeah, sure," and kept working. Figured it'd be a minute or two, 5 at most. But 10 minutes passed, then 12. I called back asking if he was all right. No response. There was this weird feeling growing in my gut. Nothing loud, just this quiet wrongness that made me hyper-aware of the humming of the soda machine, the light buzzing above the counter, even my own breathing. I walked toward the hallway, where the staff bathroom was. Knocked once. Still nothing. I started to wonder if he was sick. Maybe food poisoning. Something about him had felt off all night. He wasn't talking as much, and I noticed earlier he didn't eat during break like he usually did. Welcome, dear brave listener. You're tuning into Careful TV, and I'm truly grateful you're here. Whether you're tuning in during the day or late at night, thank you for choosing to spend a part of your time with me. If you enjoy these stories, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and means more than you know. The stifling humidity of Pensacola, Florida, made everything feel heavy. Clothes, mood, even the silence, as the 27-year-old shift lead at a local KFC, not far from the now-closed Walmart. I'd been there for 9 months, mostly covering swing or late closing shifts.
It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable. Rent was paid, and I got my employee meal, which was enough for Lena, who was trying to escape a series of bad decisions, including dropping out of community college and breaking up with a perpetually unemployed boyfriend. I needed work fast, and KFC fit the bill.
That's how I ended up at the KFC on Brent Lane, just off the interstate where traffic from the base and the beach sort of overlaps. We got all kinds: families, truckers, tired parents, and the occasional drunk guy at 9:58 p.m. begging for tenders after close. That night I was scheduled to close with 2 others. Death, a new high school hire on counter, and this guy named Marcus, who was just a couple months into the job. Marcus was quiet, but helpful, probably early 30s, lived with his mom. I think he did grill and fryer duty most nights, and didn't cause problems. Bit odd, maybe talked a little too slow, but he never got snippy with customers. And in our line of work, that counts for something. Beth clocked out just after 9:30 p.m. We were slow that night, so I told her she could go early. She had a math test the next morning and had been yawning since 7. That left just me and Marcus to close up, which wasn't unusual. 2-person closings happened all the time. I told him, "Yeah, sure," and kept working. Figured it'd be a minute or two, 5 at most. But 10 minutes passed, then 12. I called back asking if he was all right. No response. There was this weird feeling growing in my gut. Nothing loud, just this quiet wrongness that made me hyper-aware of the humming of the soda machine, the light buzzing above the counter, even my own breathing. I walked toward the hallway, where the staff bathroom was. Knocked once. Still nothing. I started to wonder if he was sick. Maybe food poisoning. Something about him had felt off all night. He wasn't talking as much, and I noticed earlier he didn't eat during break like he usually did. My hand was just about to try the knob when it opened. Marcus stepped out looking strange. His shirt was damp, like he'd splashed water on his face or neck. But his eyes, something in his eyes, felt blank, like he'd gone away and hadn't quite come back yet. "You good?" I asked, half joking. He nodded too fast, then walked straight past me without saying a word. I followed him, back out front, tried to brush it off. We were about to lock up and head out, when he stopped by the fryer again, said he forgot to wipe it down. I offered to do it so he could clock out, but he shook his head, real firm like you. "Go on ahead. I'll be quick." I didn't like that. Flat, emotionless. I nodded, then grabbed my jacket and purse. I decided to wait by the back door so we could leave together. As usual, no way was I leaving him alone. Company policy discouraged it, but minutes passed 5, then 10, and still no sound. No clanging trays or sprayer hose, just silence. I peeked into the kitchen. It was empty. The fryer was spotless. The staff bathroom door was ajar, and Marcus was gone. The back door remained deadbolted from the inside. There were no other exits, no signs of anyone else. My stomach churned. I felt like I was missing something obvious, but it didn't make sense. I called out once. Nothing. I checked the lobby empty. That's when the back door shook, just once sharp, like a fist had slammed into it. I froze. Then a second knock came. Not loud, not desperate, just patient. I walked to the door, peeked through the small slit in the frame. I didn't see anyone. Then came the voice. "Lena." I left my phone inside. It was Marcus, but something was wrong with his voice. It was calm, too rehearsed, like he was reading off of this. "I don't see you out there," I said, trying to keep my voice even. No reply. I couldn't explain why I didn't want to open it, but everything in me was saying not to. I remembered how weird he'd looked earlier. I remembered the bathroom, the silence. Then from the peephole, he appeared. He leaned forward slowly, his face half lit in the yellow street lamp glow. He was sweating and smiling. I didn't open the door. Instead, I stepped back and texted the GM on my phone. Just said, "Weird situation where Marcus needs to talk." I didn't even realize I was shaking until my hand slipped on the door lock. Eventually, I heard footsteps fade away. I waited 10 more minutes, then did a walkthrough of the building. Still no Marcus. No phone left behind. Nothing. The next day, I called the GM. Told her everything. She didn't sound surprised, just tired. Apparently 2 weeks earlier, Marcus had been pulled from the schedule for no call, no showing. His name had been taken off the schedule board, which made no sense. He'd been working with us every few days since then. He even had clock-ins on the system. But when the GM checked deeper, something didn't line up. The time cards were manually punched, not biometric. He'd somehow been using an old ID number that had never been fully deactivated. Turns out he hadn't officially been on payroll for almost 2 weeks. No address on file. His emergency contact number was disconnected, and a police report was filed for safety, though nothing ever came of it. I never saw him again, and to this day, I don't know what his intentions were, whether it was desperation, an attempt to manipulate me, or if he was squatting somewhere and simply continued showing up for shifts as if nothing had happened. From the beginning, something about him felt off, as if he was rehearsing normalcy rather than genuinely embodying it. I sometimes reflect on how close I came to letting him back in that night, and still wonder how long he had been standing outside before he knocked. I've always liked long drives. Something about being alone on the road calms me. You set your cruise control, let the world blur past, and for a little while, everything makes sense. I used to make regular trips between Oklahoma City and Amarillo to visit my aunt, and it became a routine: 5 hours, 1 gas stop, maybe a drive-through meal if I felt like treating myself. But this time felt off, not for any reason I could put my finger on. The sky was clear, the car was running smooth, and I had just finished helping my cousin move into her new apartment near the Texas Tech campus. I was tired, yeah, but in that satisfied way you get helping someone you care about. I was ready to go home, sleep in my own bed, and not see another cardboard box for a month. My name is Elise. I'm 27. I work part-time at a library while freelancing as a copy editor on the side. I'm not adventurous. I'm not the type of person people tell stories about, but this is the one story I've never stopped replaying in my head. No matter how much time passes. It was just after 11:07 a.m. When I left Lubbock. I'd skipped breakfast and figured I'd eat somewhere on the road. About 3 hours in hunger kicked in hard. I saw a green sign for Shamrock, Texas, coming up. I knew there was a KFC there. Had been to it once, with my aunt on a road trip, years back. It was right off exit 161, on I-40, across from a Love's truck stop, familiar enough to feel safe. I pulled in, parked and walked into the KFC. It was one of those combo buildings, KFC on one side, Taco Bell on the other. The air smelled like fryer oil and cinnamon twists. I ordered a 2-piece combo with mashed potatoes and a Pepsi. The woman behind the counter smiled, like she'd been up since 5 hours a.m., polite but tired. I took my food to go, not wanting to eat inside. I pulled into a quiet corner of the truck stop's parking lot, right under one of those tall metal lights. Even though it was daytime, there was a decent breeze, and the sunlight cut at a slant through my windshield. I opened the box, tore off a piece of biscuit, and let myself enjoy it. That's when I noticed the car, a beige Chevy Impala, mid-2000 model. The tinted window car, engine running, was parked 3 spaces down, across the aisle. I initially dismissed it. People often idle in parking lots. However, when I first arrived at KFC, I'd seen the same car tucked into a spot facing the drive-through exit. I hadn't paid it much mind then, just a quick glance, but seeing it again, now in a new spot closer to mine, a knot tightened in my stomach. I tried to ignore it, glancing down at my food. Maybe they were just resting or waiting for someone. No need to spiral. Yet, the tension in my neck intensified. You know that feeling, when something's off, even if you can't articulate why. That's precisely where I was. I took a few more bites, trying to avoid staring, only stealing quick looks through my side mirror. The car wasn't moving, but it wasn't leaving either. I wrapped up what was left of my meal, shoved everything back into the bag, and started the car. As soon as I shifted into reverse, the Impala's headlights blinked on it, rolled backward, slow, calculated, and began following me out of the lot. I turned left out of the truck stop, heading back toward the highway. My heart wasn't racing yet, but it was definitely alert. I kept checking the mirror. The Impala took the same left, fell in a few car lengths behind. I merged onto I-40 East, trying to stay calm. Maybe they were just going the same way. Shamrock was small. There weren't many exits. It could have meant nothing.
I stayed in the middle lane. Every few minutes I'd change lanes just to see if the car would follow. It did speed up. They sped up, slow down, they'd hang back, but never pass. They weren't tailgating, and they weren't swerving or driving erratically. That somehow made it worse. It was quiet, controlled, like they wanted me to know without doing anything illegal.
After about 30 minutes of this, my nerves were shot. My hands were damp on the wheel, and I kept glancing at every exit, calculating whether it was worth the risk to pull off. Most were small towns or stretches of farmland, with no real crowd, no real place to hide. I didn't want them to know where I lived. That was the line I couldn't cross, so I kept driving. When I saw the exit for Elk City coming up, I made a last-minute decision and took it. There was a Walmart, a gas station, and a few fast food chains scattered around. Enough people, I hoped, to make whoever was in that car second guess. I pulled into the Walmart lot and parked several aisles deep near the garden center.
I cut the engine, hoping maybe I was wrong, maybe they'd keep going. But a minute later, the Impala coasted in slow and silent. It passed a row of empty spaces, looped around, and parked 3 spots behind me. The engine stayed on. My mouth went dry. I didn't move, didn't reach for anything. I just sat there staring at my steering wheel, pulse thudding against my collarbone.
The driver's door and then the rear passenger door opened, and 2 men emerged. Their faces were obscured by baseball caps and long sleeves, as if they wished to remain anonymous. They didn't approach the store or look around. Their gaze was fixed solely on me. I instinctively floored it. My tires shrieked against the pavement, and my seatbelt tightened across my chest as I swerved sharply, almost hitting a cart return, and sped towards the exit. In my rearview mirror, I saw the 2 men stop, exchange a glance, and then rush back to their car. That was it. Panic set in. I turned right onto the main road, unsure where I was going, just trying to put space between me and them. I scanned the intersections for anything. Gas stations, police people, and then, like something out of a movie, I saw a city patrol SUV sitting outside a car wash. Without thinking, I cut across a turning lane and pulled in front of him, probably way too aggressively. He turned on his lights, immediately pulled up behind me. I rolled down my window, hands shaking so hard I could barely hold my license. The officer walked up slowly, clearly annoyed. "Ma'am, what's going on?" I blurted it out. "Someone's following me." "Since Shamrock, 2 men, same car. They followed me into the Walmart lot and got out when I parked." I didn't know what to do. His face changed instantly. He didn't ask more questions, just turned back toward his vehicle and spoke into his radio. Another unit pulled up 2 minutes later. By that time, the Impala had driven by. I pointed it out, heart thumping in my throat. The officers took off after it. I sat there gripping the wheel, breathing like I'd just run 5 miles uphill. One of them came back 10 minutes later, said they couldn't stop the car without a cause my butt. They got the plate and would keep an eye on it. He offered to escort me to the city limits. I said yes, no hesitation. I got home around 6 p.m. that night, parked in my driveway, shut off the car, and just sat there shaking. I never found out who they were. never saw the Impala again. Maybe it was random, maybe it wasn't. But to this day, I can't sit in a parked car without checking all my mirrors, because something about that drive changed me. It made the road feel less safe. And now every time I pass a KFC sign on the highway, I think about Shamrock and that beige Impala and how close I might have come to becoming another headline. It was a quiet Monday night at the KFC on Hillcrest Drive, quiet in the way that made time feel slower. We were running a skeleton crew, just me, Miguel on fryer duty, and Alicia handling drive-through. I'd been working there for nearly a year, mostly late shifts, steady pay, simple tasks, and just enough foot traffic to keep you from going crazy. The dining area was practically empty. One older man was sipping a coffee in the corner, and a mother with 2 restless kids was waiting on a to-go order. The usual hum of fryers, murmured conversation, and the beeping of the register filled the air, like white noise. Nothing remarkable, really, just another slow routine night in a fast food chain that smelled like oil and burnt batter. I was hoping to leave a few minutes early, if no one else showed up. It was around 9:40 p.m. when a tall man, likely in his mid-40s, walked in. He wore a black hoodie and dark jeans. His skin was pale, not sickly, but faded, as if he hadn't seen sunlight in days. He made no eye contact and walked directly to the soda fountain, seemingly knowing the layout perfectly. He didn't order anything or say a word. He simply stood there, staring at the drink machine. I exchanged a puzzled glance with Alicia. "You know him?" I mouthed across the counter, and she shook her head with a confused frown. After a few seconds, he filled a paper cup with Dr. Pepper, took a long sip, and then remained standing there. At first I figured, maybe he was waiting for someone, maybe an Uber Eats driver, picking up a late order, but no notification popped up, no name on the tablet, no receipt on the rack, and he hadn't even spoken since entering 10 minutes past. Then 15. He hadn't moved. From the soda station, I walked over casually, trying not to spook him. "Hey sir, you okay? Can I help you with something?" No response. He didn't even look at me. He pressed the soda lever again, filled the cup to the brim, and took another long sip, slow like he had all the time in the world. I was starting to feel uneasy. He wasn't homeless. He wasn't drunk. There was a calm to him, but not a peaceful one. The kind of calm you feel in the middle of a thunderstorm, when the lightning stops and everything is just still, the kind that makes your gut twist. "Sir, if you're not ordering anything, I might have to ask you to leave." That time, he looked at me, and I wish he hadn't. His eyes were blank, not tired, not angry, just vacant, like no one was home behind them, like he was there physically, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally, long gone. Then, very slowly, he smiled. It wasn't friendly. "Free refills, right?" he asked. His voice was low, flat, measured like he was reading from a script he'd recited hundreds of times. I forced the chuckle, technically. "Yeah, but for paying customers he didn't move, didn't blink." "I paid," he said softly. Then he reached into his hoodie pocket. For a moment, I thought he was going to pull out a receipt or a crumpled order slip instead. It was a small worn leather wallet. He opened it, and inside was a folded $20 bill, bloodstained. My smile faded. I took a cautious step back. "Is that payment?" he said. "For the drink." Miguel had come out from the back, sensing something was off. "Everything good out here?" Before I could answer, he asked, wiping his hands on a towel. The man then slowly turned away from us and walked to the dining area's far corner. He sat down at the table closest to the emergency exit, staring at the wall, his soda cup untouched. That's when the mother with the kids grabbed her food and practically ran out the door without a word or a backward glance. Alicia called me over. We should call someone. No, this guy's not right. I nodded and quietly stepped behind the counter, pulling out my phone. I dialed 911, pretending to check our nightly totals on the POS. The operator picked up quickly. I gave them the man's description, explaining about the blood on the money and his strange behavior. The woman on the line was calm, asked me if anyone was in danger. I said, not yet, but it felt like a ticking clock. She said an officer was nearby and would arrive shortly. We waited. The man didn't move. He just sat there drinking, staring like the wall in front of him, held secrets only he could hear. He didn't speak, didn't twitch, didn't acknowledge us again. Then, about 3 minutes before the cops arrived, he stood up and walked behind the counter. Miguel shouted, "Hey, you can't be back here." The man didn't stop. He stepped around the prep station like he'd done it 100 times, headed straight to the break room door. I stepped in his path. He pulled something out of his other pocket. Not a weapon, a phone. He held it up, unlocked it, and tapped play on a voice recording. A voice came through the speaker, female crying, pleading, "Please, you don't have to do this. I have kids. Please don't lock me in here. It's cold. Please." I felt the blood drain from my face. He stared at me. "Do you hear her?" he whispered. She begged. Miguel moved fast, tried to grab the phone, tried to shut it off. The man didn't fight back. He just let go. The phone fell to the floor and skidded across the tiles, still playing that broken, desperate audio. The woman's voice cracked with fear. She was coughing, shivering, begging, and then the man whispered something that will haunt me forever. She never got a refill. That's when the cops came in, just as he collapsed to his knees. Hands raised, no resistance, like he was waiting for it. They cuffed him without a struggle. Didn't say a word. He looked relieved, like surrendering was the final step in a long, sick ritual. As they let him out, the phone still echoed with her voice. The officers took it as evidence. Miguel and I just stood there, stunned, not knowing whether to cry or vomit. Later we found out who he was, a former employee of a KFC across the state, fired 2 years ago after a violent breakdown. He'd been living out of his car in and out of psychiatric holds, never quite stable. His girlfriend, another employee, had gone missing 5 days ago. The police had been searching for her. They found her body in the walk-in freezer of that closed-down branch, wrapped in a KFC, apron cause of death, blunt force trauma, and the phone. The audio was real, but begged to be let out, begged for help, but he never opened the door. The $20 bill he gave me, it was hers. The blood on it was hers. No one knew why he came to our location. Some said it was random that his mind had cracked, and he just wandered into the nearest KFC. But I don't think it was random. He knew exactly what he was doing. I believe he intended for someone to discover that tape, to comprehend his actions, not out of pride, but to transfer the burden, to make us feel the weight of what he'd done. That night we closed early. Police remained until nearly 2 a.m., collecting statements, reviewing footage, and gathering evidence.